Be inspired, supported, and empowered. This is the Global Healthy Living Foundation podcast network.
Welcome to Patient Prep Room, a podcast that explores important and often misunderstood aspects of living with autoimmune arthritis and related conditions in Australia. I'm your host, Naomi Creek, National Coordinator at GHLF Australia, and in this episode, we're talking with Julie Norris, a mother, sister, daughter, and friend whose life has been profoundly shaped by resilience, compassion, and advocacy. Living with lupus for more than 3 decades, she has navigated the daily challenges of a chronic illness while raising her son as a single parent. Julie's story is one of survival and renewal, and she continues to use her voice to empower others, to remind them that they are not alone and that together, communities can create lasting change. Julie, it's so wonderful to have you on our show. We've got heaps to talk about, so welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Naomi.
Excited to talk to you. Let's go back a few decades to when you were a young mum with your son. You were going through uni and university and then developed lupus symptoms. Did you know what they were at the time, and what was it like during that time for you?
It took a very long time to get a diagnosis. As you're aware, lupus can present in many, many ways, and not one lupus patient is the same. So to get a diagnosis can take some time. For me, my diagnosis came at 25 and it presented with a lot of more arthritis type symptoms and this unknown rash. What this rash was quite a mystery.
So did you go off to your GP to see what was happening there?
Yeah, I did. And they did numerous blood tests, but at the time they weren't really the appropriate blood tests. And therefore, I think that's why it took a little longer to get diagnosed as well.
So a frustrating time because were you dealing with quite a bit of pain at the time? Did it actually come on suddenly, or is it sort of gradual, these symptoms that you've experienced?
No, it was gradual, and then it started getting quite severe. And trying to maintain a full-time job and look after my son was quite difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. And you live in a rural area as well, so finding a doctor to actually diagnose you would have been rather challenging.
Correct. Eventually, a GP did diagnose me. Quite a profound moment, sitting in the chair of the GP room, for the GP to come in and say, well, Julie, you have lupus. Okay, we'll see you next time. So I was then sent on my own way. No information, no referrals to a rheumatologist. I was just told I had this diagnosis and had no idea what on earth it was or how the treatment, what that would look like. And like I said, no referral to a rheumatologist or anything. So I was then sent away on my own. And thankfully, I'm a lifelong learner, so I did a lot of research myself after many, many months, and then a beautiful light at the end of the tunnel where I found Professor Eric Moran at Monash Clayton campus. And that from then moving forward changed my life.
Wow, that seems incredible that you were given no information at all and just sent on your way, as you said. That just seems crazy these days. And I guess, yeah, thank goodness you wear your self-advocacy hat all the time and you just went off and did your own research. To me, that seems crazy. So what would you like to have had given to you at that point?
Yeah, remembering though, Naomi, this was back in 1993 or actually 1992. And a lot of the awareness and how a GP manages you has changed over that time.
Agree. How did you actually get to see Dr. Eric Moran? How did you get that referral in the end?
Once I found him, I didn't bother with my GP. I just contacted the clinic directly and gave them a very short snippet of my story. And to be honest, I didn't have a referral because I was quite acute and they understood that I needed management and treatment. At that time, in those years, I just got straight into the clinic to see him.
That's good luck for you, isn't it, that you got in so soon? What advice would you give to others going into an appointment with a GP today or their specialist? What do you think they could do to make their appointment most efficient?
You must, as a patient, do your own self-advocacy. Your body, you know what's happening in regards symptoms wise, that it's not your normal body. And it's important for the first diagnosis and to help your GP, you need to go equipped with knowledge. Knowledge is power. And there's a tool that I used and I use continually over the 34 years that I've been diagnosed is a symptom tracker. Because symptoms present very different from one patient to the other, and because it's involving your immune system attacking your body, your immune system is not the same as the next person. And so by having a symptom tracker, those symptoms are unique to you, may represent some of the common symptoms, but it's how your body and your immune system is reacting. With lupus, you've got an overactive immune system and it attacks your body in different ways and different areas of your body. So a symptom tracker is extremely important. You also go with the knowledge that you do need to do a little bit of research in regards to you must know the right blood tests to get the right results. And sadly, not every GP is across the board with what lupus is. And thankfully now they're getting a lot better, but there's very specific blood tests that you do need to have to go alongside the symptoms you're presenting with and what your blood test results will show. Like I said, GPs, they're gaining more knowledge. If you do that self-advocacy, you are also helping them do their job to actually diagnose you.
You're a really strong advocate for people keeping track of their blood tests, and scan results. So why is it so important? Is it because is it just so they can see patterns over time and things like that?
Correct. But gone are the days where you have your blood tests and you sit there and you go to your GP and you get the results. That's not enough. For the self-advocacy part, and I use the word self-efficacy, you have to understand the pattern in your blood test results to work alongside your symptom tracker for them to get a picture of how to treat and manage you. And that symptom tracker, and we're now in the process of producing a tool to help lupus patients monitor the patterns in their blood tests. It's called Know Your Numbers. And you can actually find that tool on an amazing website called Dragon Claw. And we're in the process of making that Know Your Numbers tool international. So everybody will be able to access that tool. And that just lists your common blood tests that need to be done to treat and manage your lupus. And it's just about writing the date and writing down those results so that the GP and the rheumatologist can get an overall pattern of your personal body and immune system reaction to your condition.
That's fantastic. We'll keep track of that and share that with our community. And with the blood tests, I know for myself, there's been the occasion where some of these blood labs won't give you any results or printouts or anything. Now, what do you have to say about that?
Your blood test results are your blood test results. You have every right for a copy of those. However, in some GP clinics, the receptionist or admin don't always like to give you a copy of the blood test results unless it's actually been seen by a GP and they tick it off. Some of the lupus blood tests that you have can take 10 days to come back and some can almost be overnight. So when you do get your pathology slip, either from your rheumatologist or your very knowledgeable GP who knows the right blood test to test you on to receive the correct management and treatment, you can actually go to your GP for that appointment as the follow-up for your blood test results, and you can sit there and he will discuss the results, and then you can say, could I please have a copy of those blood test results? And 9 times out of 10, they'll give you a copy. But this is where the self-efficacy comes in. You must advocate for yourself that you can get a copy of those blood tests. This is where the knowledge is power. If you're able to get a copy of those blood tests and you use the Know Your Numbers tool where you're monitoring those patterns, then that information can go alongside you when you see your specialist rheumatologist. You will go in with that information and you will be able to help them manage your symptoms and help them treat you so you can gain that good quality of life that we all deserve.
Yeah, that's terrific advice, Julie. And what about the keeping a whole health record? So we know that health systems probably around the world, but Australia, it's hard for them to talk to each other. They all have different systems. So this keeping your own health record is really important, isn't it?
Absolutely. In Australia, we have what we call e-health record. Now, that's not 100% efficient. Not every clinic and not every GP and not every specialist talk to one another or link with one another. So it's very important that you do your self-efficacy. I now don't trust the systems that we have here. Not every pathology organisation will talk to a specialist, will be able to communicate where they can obtain those results. We have quite a number of pathology organisations and they don't always talk to one another. So I have not relied on the e-health record, but I do have an app called Medicine Wise. And now, after many, many years, it has 34 years of my medical history, which includes all blood test results, scans, specialists I've seen, different GPs over the time. It has a quite large medical history. And as you can hear by my talking, my self-efficacy and advocacy is I have to be very diligent. I have to know my blood test results. I have to have the copies. I make sure from the GP to the specialist that I have hard copies so that I know that these specialists are getting the information they need to manage and treat me. I don't always, I never now rely on the e-health record. It's just really important that you obtain that information to come alongside you when you do get to see your rheumatologist, who hopefully will manage you quite frequently and you'll see them quite frequently.
That's wonderful advice. It sounds like a great tool for people to keep track of all of their things. So it comes down to people, as you say, being self-efficient, and self-efficacy is key. And it's actually a term that I haven't heard a lot of people use, but self-efficacy is a much more holistic kind of way of looking at taking care of yourself, isn't it?
Absolutely. The lupus journey is a really tough road. You get mentally and physically exhausted, and self-efficacy some days can be really challenging. At the end of the day, that you're helping that your medical team, your rheumatologist, your GP, any other specialists involved in your management, you're helping them to have the right information in front of them. And when you go to see these specialists, they don't always have the time that you really need. So you have to be right on point with the information and make sure that they do gain that so they get the broad picture of where you're at.
So what does a good healthcare team look like for someone living with lupus in your eyes?
So I have quite a large healthcare team, and after all these years, I demand that they communicate with one another. It has to be a holistic approach when you have lupus. So my medical team involves my GP, my rheumatologist, an endocrinologist, gastroenterologist, podiatrist, occupational therapist, physio, optometrist, and a dermatologist. And they really do need to all talk to one another.
Wow, that's a huge team. How can you get them to communicate with each other if they're not?
It's important that when you go to these specialists, and I go to them quite often because my mantra is I want a good quality of life, and that's what we all deserve. And by making sure that you keep on with your regular appointments, you can live that good quality of life and be managed really efficiently. So when I go to see one of these specialists, it's about me informing them that I have these other people included in my medical team and that it is a holistic approach to manage my symptoms. And I make sure that they all know about one another. particularly when I go to see my GP. Once I've seen my rheumatologist, I then go to my GP and I just refresh my last visit with my GP so that he's across the board with who I've seen and what the treatments they've prescribed, and just making sure you're keeping that open connection with everyone.
Yeah, that's terrific advice. Let's talk about treatment. People with lupus haven't had many options in the past, have they? And this I know has made your life very difficult, but you are now on a new treatment. Can you tell us a little bit about what that's like and what the new treatment's meant for you?
This new treatment has changed my life after 34 years. It's given me a new life. Prior to that, over the 34 years, I've been given a myriad of medications. Back when I was diagnosed around 1993, early 90s, the first line treatment for rheumatologists was steroid, cortisone, prednisolone. And now most rheumatologists, they have many more options and they are aware of the side effects of what the steroids can do to your body. Sadly, over those years, because of long-term steroid use back in the early time, long-term steroid use has actually given me osteoporosis. So now the rheumatologists have amazing biologics, all sorts of things that they can now draw on. So thankfully, my rheumatologist is up with the latest research and I've exhausted all my measures of medication. And I presented to her one day with severe alopecia, severe body rashes, severe inflammation throughout my body. And I just went to her a very broken woman. And she put me up as a candidate for a very new immunotherapy medication that had just been approved on the PBS, an amazing drug that the team at Monash University at Clayton have developed, and to the amazing Professor Eric Moran who drove that team. And I have immunotherapy infusion treatment every 3 weeks down at St Vincent's in Melbourne. I'm a rural patient, so I travel to Melbourne every 4 weeks, and that's a half an hour infusion that I have at St Vincent's, and it has literally changed my life. My hair's grown back, I have no rashes, I have energy that I have never had over the 34 years. However, yes, I do have to travel to Metropolitan to have this half an hour infusion. So there's actually clinical trials at the moment happening with that subcut injection treatment, which is going to be amazing, where we're going to be able to stay in our own homes and give ourselves that monthly injection. And yes, no longer the long drive from rural to metropolitan.
I'm so happy for you that this drug has changed your life. It's really wonderful to hear, and I'm loving that there is the possibility of this subcut injection as well, because I know Australia is a really big place and it's always a long way to get to doctors from many places here, so that will help a lot of people. Now, I wanted to ask you, Julie, you've been a long life advocate for people with disabilities, and you told me that you like to be the voice for those that don't have a voice. I think by hearing your story, we probably know where the compassion and drive comes from, but you tell us what makes you so passionate about being the voice for others.
The lupus journey, or anybody living with a chronic medical condition, is a very tiring, tough journey. You feel very much alone. Doing that self-efficacy can be quite challenging and exhausting, and making sure that the medical professionals that are caring for you or that you go to see, you really do have to advocate for yourself. And like I said, by the time you get to some of these appointments, you're just medically and physically and mentally exhausted. I believe and passionately believe that everybody deserves a good quality of life, and you can achieve that with the right management. And my lived experience, I've had many highs and many lows, seen many medical professionals over the years and been involved in a lot of clinical trials. So my lived experience, I believe, gives me the passion and the drive to be that voice for others so that we can have that quality of life that we all deserve.
Makes a lot of sense. So you've certainly got a lot of empathy and support others going through really hard times. I know you do a lot of that.
Us humans don't like seeing anybody in pain. We don't like seeing anybody struggle. The empathy and the compassion. I don't want anybody to go through the pain and the sadness and the mental exhaustion and all that sort of thing. I don't want anybody else to have to endure that. And if I can, I'm a lifelong learner, so if I can keep learning, and I don't have all the answers, but I'm continually learning about my condition, and I feel very grateful that I've wanted to learn, I've wanted to understand, I've wanted to make life different for others. And that lived experience, I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through. And I'm just blessed now that I have the right treatment, that I have that energy and that determination, that motivation to be able to be that voice for people.
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, living with something like lupus, it can just drain people, as you say, and it just makes things just so hard. You can't speak up, or you just don't have the energy to do that. So I know a couple of things you mentioned to me, like you just can't be a silent patient, but I know that's easier said than done. But we do have to speak up, and we have the right to question anything, don't we, as well? If you hear something that your health professional's telling you, if you don't understand it or you don't believe the right thing, you need to question these things, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing is patients need to know what their rights are. They need to know that they can advocate for themselves. They can ask questions. Ask questions. Find out about the medication that these medical professionals are giving you. Find out what outcomes and expectations they're hoping to achieve by giving you a particular treatment. You go to your GP and you go in with a symptom, and your expectations as a patient is, this person, I'm telling them my symptoms, and I expect them to fix it, or I expect them to help me, or I expect them to come up with some answer. You need to be aware of the treatments, understand, and make sure the expectations that you have as a patient and the outcomes that your medical professionals actually want to achieve, make sure that everyone's on the same page. And yes, you have rights. You can question. You don't have to accept everything. Ask questions, gain knowledge, and knowledge is power.
That's the way to go. And I know with our episode with Professor Moran, he did say specifically that he wants patients to challenge him. So you have the right, ask lots of questions and don't be silent, and it'll make your journey a lot easier, won't it?
Absolutely. And the other thing too is sometimes the medical professionals, if you've seen them for a long time and they've known you for a while, none of us are perfect. They can become a little complacent. They can become a little bit lazy. You ask them questions. You challenge them. You say, so why are you giving me this? Or what do you hope to achieve? Or what's your expectation? What are you expecting when I walk out this door and come and see you next time? What do you want to achieve? What does that look like for me as a patient? It's just so important. And also, like I said, none of us are perfect. So on all these medical professional appointments, I always take somebody with me. It's so important. As I said before, by the time that you get to these appointments, you're just mentally and physically drained. So by taking a support person who can have a second set of ears is so important. And writing down things, because you're in there for one reason, explaining your symptoms, looking for an answer, and you don't always hear everything.
Yep, definitely. I know the feeling about that. I think that's something we'll share with others as well. And I really liked your questions that you can ask your doctors. They seem to be sort of simple things, but on the day that you're there, you just might not think of them. So even taking those questions with you as well is great, writing them down. So we'll share those as well with our community too. So they're terrific tips, Julie.
It's quite funny when you see the reaction of a medical professional when you come in with questions, when you come in prepared, when you have your symptom tracker, all that sort of thing, because they love a patient being proactive. They get excited and they look at you different when you are so prepared and you want to know and you want to be part of your treatment and you want to be part of the process. They actually get quite encouraged that a patient is taking this role of self-efficacy and wanting to know the whys and wanting to know the hows. You can see their demeanour and their body language change pretty quickly when you go in there being proactive as a patient.
Yeah, that's a nice thing to notice, actually. I guess it's hard for them as well, isn't it? They must come up against a lot of walls with a lot of these conditions and they just want to help you. And when they don't have perhaps all the information, they probably feel very sad that they can't help you. So working as a team together just makes things easier for everyone.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely.
Now, I wanted to finish on something exciting that you are doing at the moment. You're writing your memoir, which you've titled Shattered Silence, Reclaiming My Voice. So tell us a bit about that and why it's important for you to write it.
I've had a very challenging journey over the time and have a lot of lived experience and a lot of nice things and a lot of bad things. Over the years, I've become a lot wiser. I've healed and rebuilt many times. And for me, it was important to share that lived experience and share my story because for quite a long time there, I was made to be very silent and I didn't have a voice and I was quite unwell. And being on this new medical treatment and having the gratitude for having this treatment that's not costing me a lot of money, and thankfully we have the amazing work of Monash and the team under Professor Eric Moran. Every day I'm grateful for his existence. He's just the most amazing man and his team worked tirelessly to hopefully one day find a cure. This memoir has helped me do a lot of healing, writing down my thoughts and expressing myself in the written word, as well as by writing my memoir. I've been doing a lot of public speaking and the advocacy work that surrounds me, completing my memoir. And I just think this healing, you can't do it on your own. And I've found a lot of growth and a lot of healing by writing this memoir. I now have a voice and boy, am I going to use it.
So good. That's so inspiring. I'm so excited to read it when you've finished it, and we'll be sure to share that as well with everyone out there. It'll be a great read, I'm sure. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode. I hope everyone feels as inspired as I do after hearing Julie's story, from pain to power. Thank you so much, Julie, for being so open and sharing such incredible insights and your inspiring approach to life with lupus, which I know will resonate really deeply with our listeners.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you again for giving me the opportunity to express all this. It is quite empowering, so thank you, Naomi.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Patient Prep Room. Click follow wherever you listen to podcasts and join the Creaky Joints Australia community to receive additional resources to help you live your best life despite arthritis. Join for free at creakyjoints.org.au. Creaky Joints Australia recommends that you always consult with your medical provider to ensure you remain at the centre of your healthcare. This podcast was made possible with support from AstraZeneca. If you've liked what you've heard, be sure to rate our podcasts, write a positive review, and spread the word by sharing with your friends and family. It'll help more people like you find us.
Be inspired, supported, and empowered. This is the Global Healthy Living Foundation Podcast Network.